Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another week of two-point conversion. We're into November now. The NFL season is in full swing. Me and Nico got a good show prepared for you guys today. I don't really know how you want to describe that Giants-Jets game. I mean, it was one of the worst football games I've ever seen. It's up there. It was terrible.
It is the worst football game.
We're switching to mic 3. But yeah, no, that football game was garbage in the rain, terrible weather. Giants finished with negative passing yards. Overtime, blew the lead, penalties on both sides. It was a terrible football game, but we'll get into it. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about what the Giants and Jets got going forward, and then a little bit of a Thursday night football preview at the end for you guys. But Nico, you want to just give me your key thoughts from the game on Sunday afternoon?
As the days winded down to the show, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to, because that's how bad it was on both sides. I mean, the defense played very well.
Which we said they would. We called that. Yeah,
we knew what this game was going to be, but I didn't think it was.
We spent about 30 minutes of the last show highlighting how strong both of these defensive units were, and they showed up. And the weather didn't help. 2 missed field goals from Graham Gano. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that since he's been a New York Giant.
A terrible performance by Brian Daboll.
Mr. Automatic. Oh, yeah. Brian Daboll. I mean, we'll talk about that.
So,
give me your key impacts.
Yeah, this is what I want to talk about. I mean, shutting down the haters. We'll start with the positive, which I really want, and then we'll get into the negatives. Start with the positive. Shutting down the haters. Kayvon Thibodeaux, 3 sacks. He's third on the list in NFL sacks this season with 8.5. He's only 1.5 sacks behind the leader, and what a performance. I don't know if you saw that if anyone at home saw that last sack. That Diddy bop.
Double move. He went right. Yeah, that was awesome.
He went left, cut right, and then as he leaned, he cut back in and he took it. He got the sack, and that was a clutch sack. I mean, that basically closed out the game if Brian Daboll could coach a team correctly. But I mean, I'm
forced to fumble too, right?
Forced to fumble, but that was also that was at the beginning of the game, right? Forced fumble. Maybe Zach Wilson wasn't used to the wet ball yet or whatever. Hit him from behind, ball out, kind of leads into a field goal. But
Kayvon played awesome, and I don't know if anyone at home follows WFAN like me and Nico do, but there's a guy, Carl Banks, former Giant player, who's on WFAN every Wednesday. And he actually got into a beef with one of the shows, the midday afternoon show last week.
And they apologized, which I was saying yesterday.
They were trashing Kayvon, calling him a bust, getting on him for his production. And I think we could check the tapes and stuff and check what we have written. But I think all season long, me and Nico have been saying that Kayvon will get his. We still kind of believe in him as a player. And he showed up. And WFAN hosts, both Jets fans, or one's a Jets fan and one's a Falcons fan. It's weird. I'm not a big fan of that midday show, but they had to eat their words and apologize to Carl Banks because Kayvon showed out. He had himself a game. And so did Dexter Lawrence. The defensive line looked good. Linebacker group looks solid.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we you're right. We've been talking about Kayvon, and it's all about scheme for him. You know, the Giants don't really use a scheme like what they use in San Francisco and in those heavy rush teams like in Dallas where they're outside edge or rushing that way. Like Kayvon wasn't rushing that way, but we saw him do it against the Jets, and 8.5 sacks. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
awesome. He's showing to be a star like we thought he was going to be if they just put him in the right scheme.
Yeah.
Another positive from today was for the Jets side, not for our side. Zach Wilson, clutch in the 2-minute drill, clutch in overtime. He made key throws. I mean, we could debate whether or not that ball was spotted correctly by the ref, which I don't think it was.
A controversial penalty as well called on Kayvon,
which was not.
You go back on the tape and it doesn't really look like a penalty, but I'm not really one to make excuses. The Giants.
So I'm trying to think
of that game. Man.
I'm trying to think about who he was referencing. Kayvon went out on Twitter and I think he gave a quote. He was referencing one of a really great pass rusher who said you go with the ball. I think it was Von Miller. I think he said Von Miller said go with the ball, and he literally went with the ball. I mean, that's not an offside. The ball was moving as he was moving. It was perfectly timed, but things don't go as planned. That's not why the Giants lost this game. I want to emphasize that the penalty is not why. The Zach Wilson 2-minute drill is not why. The reason that the Giants lost this game is coaching.
100% agree.
Is coaching. I mean, Unfortunately, Tyrod Taylor leaves the game in the first half with a rib injury.
Yeah.
You go into a game like we have been, and Tyrod Taylor, every time he's come in the past 3 years, has gotten hurt. Every single year, he got the concussion that one year where he got knocked out, and this one with the rib injury. I mean, he's an injury-prone player. He's a great backup, injury-prone player, but he comes in and, I mean, we don't have a. I mean, what was it? Tommy DeVito is
I
his
can't
name?
be
Yeah.
mad at Tyrod. Injuries
No, I'm not.
happen.
I'm not mad at
mad at
Tyrod.
the coaching, like
I'm
you
mad at the
said.
coaching. You come into a game with a backup quarterback who you're not prepared to throw the ball with.
That was
I mean,
absolutely
they
ridiculous.
didn't throw the ball once. They threw the ball 3 times when he came in the second quarter. In the second quarter. In the third and fourth quarter, they did not throw the ball once. The Giants ran the ball every single play constantly for the second half, and they had -9 passing yards on the game. And
Disgusting.
then you go into we'll talk about the field goal decision in a second. You go into overtime and you throw the ball 3 straight times.
Ugly, disgusting, terrible. You got to take us through the
You
end of
don't
that
even
game
mix
again,
up the run and the throw. They threw the ball 3 straight times in
so
overtime.
predictable, so frustrating. I'm watching that game. I want to pull the hair out of my head, Nico. That game was the Giants to win. Like you said before, that Kayvon sack, the Giants get the ball in Jets territory with less than 2 minutes on the clock, and they don't win that game.
Well,
What are we doing?
so we talk about there, which
What are we
the
doing?
broadcast wanted to highlight Saquon's run, where Saquon had a nice open run and he goes down in the middle for 2nd and 5. And I don't think that's Saquon's fault right there, because he goes down, he wastes time. I mean, that's a great move. That's a veteran play move. That's a smart move. You go down, right? You
Inbounds, let the clock run.
let the
Yes,
clock
agree,
let the
agree.
clock run. You still could get the first down, close out this game, right? We get to a 4th and 1 scenario, and Brian Daboll, honestly, it's a hard decision, but this is your job as a head coach.
Yes.
It's a hard decision, but you make the right decision. Graham Gano's been hurt for the past couple games with I believe a hamstring injury.
Had already missed the field goal
Already
earlier
missed
in the game.
field goal. It is wet outside. It's 4th and 1. Your run game. By the way, the Jets defense slouched in the second half because the Giants ran the ball every time, and it was kind of working.
Yeah.
But they ran the ball every single play. I can't emphasize that enough. You run the ball again. Put it in Saquon's hands.
Put it in your best player's hands.
Put it in
you
your
give
best player's
Saquon
hands.
a chance to get that 1 yard.
It's 4th and 1. Reward your defense. Reward
I just wanna
Kayvon
give
for
a- I wanna
performing.
give a little context.
Reward the linebackers for I'll get to you 1 second.
Yeah.
Reward the linebackers for playing a great game. Reward Deontay Banks for holding off Garrett Wilson. A fantastic game from Garrett Wilson, but he held him off a little bit. Reward Wink Martindale for doing his job. Wink Martindale was cooking in this game.
Mhm.
Reward them from doing that. Daboll made a terrible decision, and honestly, John, I've been seeing it more often.
Dude, I agree with you 100%. So a little bit of context, just in case anyone's watching, didn't catch the game. So the situation was, it was 4th and 1. Brian Daboll chose to try a field goal. The Giants were up by 3 points. So in his mind, he's thinking, okay, we get the field goal. Now the Jets have to go down the field, score a touchdown to win the game. Either way, if you make the field goal or miss the field goal, you're still giving the Jets a chance to win the game, right? He was playing, Nico. He was coaching not to lose. He wasn't coaching to win the game.
No, the entire second half he was. The entire second half
Very
he was.
disappointing.
I mean, I've never ever seen anything like this in my entire life as watching football. Maybe short, but I've never seen anything like this. I mean, he ran the ball. This is Army Navy football
Seriously,
right here.
yeah.
He ran the ball every single play. Even they throw the ball more than we did. Every single play from the second and from the third and fourth quarter, we threw the ball. How do you go into a game with Tommy DeVito and not be confident in that backup for throwing the ball?
It's not like the guy can't pass. I mean, he turned in a couple good preseason games. What are you so scared of? I don't get it. I mean, I don't know. And then Nico, my question for you,
you could
Nico,
say like you could say
what did they think he wasn't prepared? I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I'm a loss for
my question
words.
for you, Nico, is what happened to the Brian Daboll that won over the fans when he went for it for 2 points? I don't know if you remember. This is the first game of last season. Game on the line. He chose to go for 2 and win the game. What happened to that guy who coached so fearlessly, who coached to win, who won over the fans by coaching like
Can I
that?
tell you? You know,
Nico, what happened to that guy?
I'll tell you. He has no confidence in this team. I mean, defensively, sure they have confidence. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of them defense. I really couldn't. I mean, you could say Adoree Jackson with that pass interference at the end of the game that, really cost us the game, I think, but the game was already over by then. And I really do think they should have traded Adoree at the trade deadline. We'll get to the trade deadline in the next segment, but I think that he's coaching scared. He's coaching to not lose. I mean,
Yeah.
he hasn't been in this territory as a head coach. He came into last season, 7-2.
Yeah, that was awesome.
7-2, and
Going for it on fourth down,
I would
going
say-
for it for 2.
I would say the last 16 games of Brian Daboll's, tenure haven't been great.
This season has been. I like the way we finished last season. Obviously, we got beat up by the Eagles to get eliminated from the playoffs. But when it came down to it last year, we had to beat the Colts to get into the playoffs. We handled business. We had to beat the Vikings in Minnesota. We handled business. This year has been complete night and day. It's been complete opposite.
So
the guy's coaching scared. He needs to get back to his old ways. He needs to coach aggressively.
So I mean, we could go through it right now. I mean, after the Giants pull through, what are they, 7-2 at this point, I believe.
Yeah, they went on a little bit of a losing streak. They lost some games they shouldn't have lost, but
yeah, they were
still made
6.
the playoffs.
So I'm looking. So they were 6-1 coming into. Just indulge me for a second. They're 6-1 going into Jacksonville, where they won that game right on the goal line. So let's just say 7-2 after their Texans game on November 13th of last year. Okay. They lost to the Lions. They lost to the Cowboys. They tied the Commanders. They lost to the Eagles. They beat the Commanders, and then they beat the Vikings and beat the Colts, and then lost to the Eagles.
I think they lost to the Vikings that first game.
Oh, they lost to the Vikings. I mean,
I hear a tie there that we should have won. Maybe I don't really hear any bad losses there. Nico.
I mean,
the
Cowboys game. Listen,
the
Eagles game was a blowout again. I mean, like they've been all season, like they've been for the past 3 seasons. But coming into the season, I feel like he hasn't been in this territory. I mean, he has been losing. I mean, we're 2-6.
I know.
We're 2-6 halfway through the season.
Not good. I know.
There's a problem that the Giants are out of the playoff race. They're out. I mean, unless they win every other game.
See, the only bright spot I see for the Giants right now is there's 2 bright spots I see. We're getting Daniel Jones back, and hopefully the offensive line continues to get better. I'll get to those points when we talk about that. Let's talk about the trade deadline.
Okay.
What'd you think of that Leonard Williams move?
Fantastic.
We got a second round pick for this upcoming draft and a 5th round pick for the year following, but we did kind of have to pay for that 2nd round pick. We're eating most of the money left for Leonard Williams.
But which is fine.
You okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely okay. I mean, what are we doing this year with that cap? What are we doing? What are we doing this year with that money? We're not doing anything. I mean, eat the Leonard Williams. You get a 2nd round pick in 2024 and a 5th round in 2025, and you move on. I mean, believe it or not, like you could still get Leonard Williams back next season.
Expiring contract. I like the trade a lot.
Expiring contract. I mean, we could talk about the other big, blockbuster trade. One in which I think is pretty much going to depict our Super Bowl, and we'll talk about that last. But, Bills acquire Rasul Douglas for a 2024 5th round and a 2024 3rd.
Yeah, the Bills defense is beat up. They lost Trey White for the year. I think Milano, is he done for the whole year? I'm not sure. I know Milano's hurt. Trey White's hurt. Rasul Douglas
he's out for a while.
He's been having a good year with Green Bay. I mean, he's not. I thought the trade deadline overall was pretty underwhelming.
Well, but
I expected to see 1 or 2 superstars get moved.
I mean, and we kind of did. I mean, you see Montez Sweat. The Commanders sold.
Yeah.
Commanders sold. Montez Sweat goes to the Bears for a 2nd round 2024 pick, and Chase Young
3rd or 2nd.
I believe 2nd.
Because I thought we were the only team to get a 2nd round pick. I could be wrong though. Go ahead.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they got a 2nd, and Chase and then they got rid of Chase Young, which I think this is the biggest trade of all time. Of this season, sorry. Yeah. Chase Young to the 49ers is one of the biggest
2nd round
trades that we could have got, and the most impactful to the Super Bowl, I think. If the 49ers get Trent Williams back, right, and get Deebo Samuel back on offense, this team is practically unbeatable. They went through a rough patch these last couple games. I mean, I think they've lost 3 straight.
3 straight, yeah. And Brock Purdy's been throwing picks like we've never
Brock
seen him throw
Purdy
picks before.
because
Took a concussion.
Trent Williams isn't there. This defense is crazy. This might be the best defense we've seen in a
They
while.
reunite Chase Young with his Ohio State teammate Joey Bosa.
Just think about these.
Those guys
I mean,
wreak
think
havoc,
about
man.
think about. You know what? I'm just smiling because I know we're not going to be in the playoffs, and I'm just thinking about the Cowboys and the Eagles playing the Niners, and Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott don't know where to look, left or right. Like they look left, you got Nick Bosa coming. You look right, you got Chase Young coming, and then I mean, this defense, this pass rush might be. If we see it work in full action, this might be the best pass rush we've ever seen.
But hear me out for a second. Chase Young really hasn't lived up to the hype of that number 2 overall pick that he got.
But is this?
I mean, he's been injured and kind of mid, if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't think he's ever put up a double-digit sack season.
Do you think that has to do with the Commanders, or that has to do with Chase Young himself?
The rest of the Commanders' defensive line eats. Jonathan Allen eats. Montez Sweat eats. Chase Young has been injured. I really haven't seen the guy on the field too much. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the guy got drafted 2nd overall. He's supposed to be this huge, big-time prospect, and he hasn't lived up to it. I mean, disappointing for the Commanders. You used a 2nd-round pick on him, a 2nd overall pick on him, and the guy didn't live up to it. But, I'm okay with it. He's out of the NFC East. Evan Neal doesn't have to block him, thank goodness.
I mean, yeah.
He's a good player. Listen, I don't want to hate on the kid. He's got young, but we'll see. I mean,
listen, these stats aren't slouchy at all. I mean,
he's not a Pro Bowler.
This year he's got 5 sacks, 15 tackles. And
okay, that's actually better than I would have guessed.
Yeah, 5 sacks, 12 solo tackles, 15 total tackles. He has no fumble recovery.
Fair enough. No, that's better than I would have guessed. He was around 2 or 3 sacks. I didn't know.
Let's look at his previous years. So yeah, I mean, listen, he's got. Oh, wait, that's sorry, I just read that wrong. I'm trying to get his sacks, but they're not loading. So he has 14 career sacks.
This is year number 4 for him.
This is year number 4, but you have to also look at. He played a full year his rookie season where he had 7.5 sacks.
He was defensive rookie of the year, right?
Not bad. 2021, he was hurt, played 9 games. 2022, he was hurt, played 3 games. And this season he's healthy and has 5 sacks. I mean, he's on pace for 10
Maybe
sacks.
He's trending up. And then another thing you got to consider for the Commanders too is money-wise. After year 4, you either got to pick up the option, which isn't cheap for a 2nd overall pick, or you got to pay the guy. So Commanders, smart move. They're selling. They had a strong defensive line. They acknowledge that this year is not their year. They're going to rack up the draft picks and either replace Sam Howell or surround Sam Howell with good players. So I got to give it to the Commanders. They knew where they stand. They didn't hesitate.
And really for us,
defensive linemen are valuable. They got a good return.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's that's why we saw Leonard Williams go, and we'll talk. And I really want to emphasize that. What a move by Joe Schoen. I mean, he got a bigger return for Leonard Williams than the Commanders were getting for Chase Young and Montez Sweat, which is insane.
Leonard Williams 30, turning 31.
30 on an expiring contract, has played iffy. He really only plays good when Dexter Lawrence plays good, and they work in tandem together.
Agreed.
But the one thing that that you do see in a lot of Leonard Williams, Big Cat's stats is it's not what he does, it's where he could be. He's I forgot the term they use, but I think he's a 5-point rusher or something like that. Like you can use him in the inside and the outside, as at the nose. I mean, he's very movable around that line. He's not only like where you could use him on the outside or use him on the inside. You can move him around, and that's why he's such a big asset. But 30 on an expiring contract with someone who's kind of out of their prime,
I'll
take that every day. Yeah. You take that 2nd-round pick, and Joe Schoen could can make it work.
Looking forward, Giants have the Raiders this weekend. Nico, I got a question for you, buddy. I mean, I looked at the preview, trying to get some stats to write about for this week. I might tell you, my jaw dropped to the floor. I saw the Raiders, who just fired their head coach, their general manager, benched their starting quarterback, and fired their offensive coordinator are favored to beat the Giants?
We're
What am
not.
I missing?
We're not good. That's what. We're
But
not
they
good.
just fired
Dude,
everybody.
listen,
What?
I'll tell you right now.
Aiden O'Connell, 4th-round rookie quarterback, is gonna beat us?
We're not good.
Are we that bad? Am
Yeah.
I delusional right now?
No, you're not delusional, and I understand it 100%. Like, I really don't see a scenario in which we lose to this team. But hey, we can. You know we can find a way to lose.
You're right.
And you know what I
You're
mean?
right.
Like,
You're right. You're right.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, there's no way.
Right.
There's no way we lose to them, right? But like, we can. Like, we can.
We'll find a way.
Like, we'll find a way to win. I mean, if you're going in this Raiders game and you're a Giant fan, I mean, and you lose, nail in the coffin.
We
Nail in the
gotta
coffin.
fully
Done.
commit to the tank.
Finish. Nail in the coffin.
I think if we lose this week to the Raiders, do we even? I mean, Danny's got the neck thing.
No, you sit him.
We sit him
You
and
sit
let
him.
DeVito and Tyrod. We signed Matt Barkley to the
Matt
practice
Barkley,
squad.
who I think should play over DeVito because he does have more relationship with Brian Daboll since they were both at the Bills together.
Yeah.
Matt Barkley is definitely a backup who should be playing over Tommy DeVito. But Raiders, nail in the coffin. If you could scrap together, the only way I think the Giants only make the playoffs if they win every single game this season. So they're out, right? This is what they want to do for next season.
Okay.
Do they want to tank or do they want to just kind of, I mean, in my eyes, and I feel like the players are thinking this as well. They got rid of Leonard Williams. They're done. That's what the players are going to think in the front about the front office.
I think there were some better guys.
Listen, I think this is going to affect Dexter Lawrence's play because his partner on the left side is gone. I do think that it's going to affect him a little bit, and I don't
see. That's where I disagree with you. We've been on the same page for a lot of stuff this week, but I don't think trading Leonard Williams means you're throwing the towel in. I mean, the guy
maybe not throwing the towel in, but definitely, telling the defense that we're not adding. We don't believe in this team for a playoff push.
A lot of teams didn't add. I don't know.
Yeah, but they did not add, but they also subtracted.
Yeah, I guess
they're giving up. You're giving up your second best defensive lineman, besides the edge, and I mean that kind of. I wonder how this team's going to react, in Vegas.
I don't. Here's 2 points I disagree with you with. The Giants don't have to win every game the rest of the season to make the playoffs. They could get in at 8-8. They could get in at 8-9 or something like that.
I mean, it's going to be rough. I mean,
but
especially since you have 4 games left, against division rivals.
Though is not too crazy though. Okay, all right. Hear me out.
No, there's for sure winnable games, but the end of the season is rough.
If we beat the Raiders, we lose to Dallas, but then we got Washington, who we beat already. The Patriots, who are in a down spiral. The Packers, who are in a down spiral, and that would be coming off a bye. The Saints, who I think, if the Giants have a good day, are beatable.
But then the last 3 weeks of the season are Eagles, Rams, Eagles.
The Rams aren't that great. Yeah. The Eagles are tough. But
Eagles, Rams, Eagles. I mean, that's 7 wins. And is that worth it?
7-9, maybe you get in.
7-9 is rough to get in, especially in
or
this.
What would it be? 7-10 now because they played 17. Yeah, 7.
Yeah, 7-10. So it's going to be that'll be rough. I mean, you're looking at teams. The Eagles are making it. The Cowboys are probably making it. The NFC West is really competitive. I mean, the Seahawks are just took the lead over the Niners. I mean, 5-2 and 5-3 for the 49ers.
Yeah.
The Lions are competitive. Who knows what's going to happen?
The Vikings just had a big injury. That could be
who knows what's going to happen with the Vikings? Their run game is practically useless, and they just got Joshua Dobbs as a backup, and they picked up Joshua Dobbs at the trade deadline from the Cardinals for a 6th-round swap.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot who the Vikings quarterback is going to be now. Because Dobbs is
some rookie.
Dobbs is going to be sitting on the bench. But you look at the NFC South as well. I mean, the Saints and the Falcons are also 4-4. Like, these are teams with better records than us. We have this, third tied for third best, third worst record in the league.
Listen, I don't want to see the Giants throw the towel in yet. Losing Leonard Williams is going to hurt, but I disagree with you.
We know the Commanders are.
I don't think that means throwing the towel in.
Do you agree the Commanders have thrown in the towel?
Commanders have thrown in the towel. But, I mean, you got Eric Bieniemy looking to get a head coaching job. He's coaching that offense. He's going to look to make a name for himself. They're going to win if they can. You know what I mean? But hear me out. Hear me out. We're talking about a lot of
What's
different
going
things.
on with
We got to
the
talk about.
Falcons? Oh, can we talk about one more thing?
Yeah,
'Cause
they just benched Desmond Ritter,
they
right?
just benched Desmond Ritter for Taylor Heineke. I mean, why?
Desmond Ritter just lost last week to the Titans, and he looked pretty bad in that game.
They're winning their division though. They're
Are
leading.
they? Yeah.
They're leading their division.
I don't know. Try something else out. I don't know. They must have saw something last week they weren't happy with.
I mean,
I didn't catch that game, to be honest with you. I did follow it a
Excuse
little
me.
bit on fantasy. Bless you, because
Thank
DeAndre Hopkins and Will Levis balled out.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't catch the highlights.
And I sat
didn't-
D-Hop in my
yeah.
fantasy league.
Oh, I had him playing.
But
But
I mean,
but
hey,
anyway, I want to stay on topic
you-
here.
you
A
look
couple
at-
more points about this Giants
Yeah.
Raiders game. The guy who took over for the Raiders head coaching position won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. What's his name? Alex Pierce is his name,
Alex Pierce,
right?
former Giants.
Former Giant, won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, played 5 seasons as a Giants linebacker, but Nico, very, very inexperienced. And they gave him the interim head coaching job over former Giants defensive coordinator Patrick Graham. Little weird to see that. I mean, Patrick Graham is a guy with a lot of coaching experience. Meanwhile, Alec Pierce in 2017, he was coaching high school football. This is only his second year in a coaching job in the NFL.
I don't understand.
What do you think they're trying to do with that?
I mean,
and they're
hey,
still favored to beat
Listen,
us?
I understand that. I understand what we're doing is kind of embarrassing and like how we're the worst offensive line in the league. But I mean, the Raiders, like you must, if you're a Raider fan, you must be way more disappointed than the Giants are.
More
right now.
head coaches since 2000 than any other franchise in the league.
And they change every like 2 years.
They're on to number 12 or 13.
Yeah, they change every like 2 years, 3 years. But
yeah, it's been
I mean,
a disaster.
you're
out
looking
there.
at a team that has talent everywhere. Everywhere you look, the team has talent. You know what is the problem? Is it management? Is it, obviously they thought it was management and they thought it was coaching. So
And quarterback play, Jimmy G got benched.
and quarterback play, which that leads to management. You have a team where you have star players everywhere you go. You don't go and pick up Jimmy G. Jimmy G works in a Niners offense like he showed he did. He works in a Niners offense where there's a lot of checkdowns, where there's a lot of trick plays. I mean, we could go through the depth chart if you want.
Nah, it's too much off topic. I'm
Like,
just saying, like,
But like they have stars everywhere. What is going on? Is it the owner? Like what do you think it is? Is it's a constant? I mean, how long?
I think Josh McDaniels was a big part of the problem. I think the guy buys into his own hype way too much. I mean, this is a guy who's supposed to be an offensive wizard for Bill Belichick for how many years? Gets his own shot. He's supposed to be an offensive wizard. They ranked in bottom 5 in the league in every offensive category.
Yeah,
when
but
you have Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, all these guys,
At what
Hunter
point?
Renfro.
At what point do you stop saying, "Hey, it's the coaches," and start saying, "Hey, it's the owner who hires these coaches, or
Fair
it's their
enough.
head office who's hiring these
Yeah, fair
coaches?"
enough.
I mean, what's it called? Mark Davis has been. I mean, they've been terrible. They've
Ever
been
since
terrible.
he took over for his
I mean,
father, yeah.
He took over from his. I mean, what year did he take over?
2011, I want to say.
I mean, they've been
2009,
garbage.
2011. Yeah, but
They had that. They were in the playoffs that one year, and they lost that game, right, on the last seconds. So they didn't. They still don't have a playoff win in how many years? I mean, they're one of the longest franchises without a playoff win. At what point do you stop blaming? Hey, it's the coaches. Hey, it's the it's the players. Hey, it's the it's management. It's ownership. You have to. I mean,
no, I've asked that question as a Giants fan too, man. I mean, we've been through a rough stretch with coaches, and I'm at a point. Maybe our owners just don't know what the heck they're doing.
I think that we've been at a bad string of luck, especially for the Giants. I mean, we don't really have talent. Well, we're starting to get it now.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have talent. We were
Yeah, fair enough.
expiring Eli. He was getting old. You go through Joe Judge and I don't even like.
Dude, you know what I was gonna say to you? I didn't want to get you too fired up, but that loss to the Jets, that looked like a Joe Judge game.
Oh yeah,
that looked like a classic Joe Judge.
And that's what I really want to talk about. Like Brian Daboll's got to step up. But if honestly, in my opinion, and I really want you to give your opinion on it as well. I mean, if Brian Daboll's coaching the Raiders, that team's a winning team.
Yeah, I think so. It's
I
hard
mean,
to
that team's
say.
a winning.
I mean, yeah,
You're looking
it's
at.
so weird, dude.
I
It's
mean,
just night and day from last
I mean,
season.
Josh Jacobs,
Yeah,
Devontae
I know.
Adams. I mean, even on the
Max
defense,
Crosby, I know.
Max
That's in my
Crosby on
notes
the
here. I mean, dude,
defense.
how are
Like
we gonna block Max Crosby this
I
week,
mean,
dude?
I know he's like a little bit like under what's it called? Like overhyped, but
Aw.
Marcus Peters is on the team
Oh, he's
too.
solid. Yeah, he's solid.
Like
He's a
like
good vet.
he's like this team.
Interception, pick six last
Yeah, like
week.
this team is good. Like the Raiders are a good team. I don't know what the problem is. They look so
All
sloppy
right,
on the field.
Hear me out for 1 second. I think a big problem too was John Gruden dug them a deep hole. I think they invested very, very heavily in John Gruden. They thought that guy was going to win them a lot of games. They drafted a first-round lineman out of Alabama, Leatherwood,
And the Henry Ruggs thing, I
and the
forgot
Henry
about.
Ruggs thing. So that's 2 first-round picks bust. They invested a lot of money in Gruden. They have to pay him. A lot of money now in McDaniels that they have to pay him.
I don't think they have
And
to
then
pay John Gruden.
another there was a lawsuit or something. It's getting worked out.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
and then another first round or second round pick, Damian Arnett on the defensive side of the ball, flashed the gun on Instagram Live. He's done. So John Gruden dug that franchise into a very deep hole.
I got it.
He dug them into
I
a
got
very
it.
deep hole.
I got it. I'll tell you right now. I mean, clip this, whatever you want to do. This is why the Raiders are bad.
Tell me.
This is why every single team
Tell me.
is going to be bad, right? The Las Vegas area has no business having a team.
Really, I disagree.
No business,
I
right?
love that stadium. I think it looks so
The stadium
beautiful.
is fantastic. The jerseys are sick. The fans are there, right? We've seen Vegas destroy this team, right? Henry Ruggs, right?
never thought about
Drinking and driving, going 1,000 miles an hour down
Terrible.
the Las Vegas Strip. You got, Gruden was a different story. You got all these young players that flashing guns. That I believe they had some gambling things going on last season. I remember reading about.
Well, Gruden was just a terrible guy. I mean,
Gruden,
racist
forget it.
emails,
Yeah, Gruden was
misogynistic.
Yeah. I don't blame Las Vegas
They
on
dug up
Gruden.
a little dirt, and then they realized, oh my god, there is so much dirt here. We got to get rid of.
And
this
the
guy.
one counter argument, which I'm aware of, obviously being a hockey fan, is that the Vegas Golden Knights just won a team, just won a Stanley Cup, right? I feel like hockey players are a little bit different than football players, right? Just because hockey players don't tend to stay where they're playing. Hockey players
more foreigners, maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot more
distracted by the glitz and the glamour of.
There's a lot more foreigners, and hey, there's been problems with the Vegas Golden Knights. Some of their players, there has been problems on it. They've had some betting things going on, obviously being in the center, and some of their players have been suspended, in previous years. But they tend. There's a lot of Canadians on the hockey team. There's a lot of foreigners who do go away. Hockey's a different sport where after the season is over, they fly home.
Okay.
And I don't think football does that. A lot of them are staying because there is a long off season. Nice weather, good for Vegas. But
something to think about. I never.
I mean, and especially with the A's. I mean, you talk about A's going to Vegas. I mean, to me, that's going to be a disaster.
We'll see.
I mean,
see what happens.
They're a disaster franchise now. When are we going to stop
sold.
taking disaster franchises and bringing them to Vegas? I mean, look at the Raiders were disastrous before they went to Vegas and Oakland.
What about the Las Vegas Aces?
I don't even know about the Aces. I'm sorry. No offense to the WNBA, but I don't even care about the Aces.
I know.
Good for them. They won back-to-back. Kelsey Plum, Darren Waller's wife.
Yeah, wife.
Shout out. But, the only team that's had success there, obviously the WNBA team, but are the Vegas Golden Knights, and they were an expansion team. They're a brand new team coming out of there. But
never thought about that.
The teams that are going there, I mean, the Raiders, not great. I mean, they came from Oakland. They were terrible. The Athletics are going to go over there, and they've probably the worst franchise in sports history at this point. At least in the past 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't argue with that. Listen, let's get back on this Giants. I have one more thing I want to ask you, okay? Daniel Jones is coming back off an injury. What do you want to see from this team Sunday afternoon? Because I got one big thing that I really want to see. Okay? Do you have anything in mind, or you want me to go first?
Stability.
Stability?
No,
I'm talking about like what I want to see from. Yeah, okay, stability.
Yeah. No,
that's fair.
I want to see stability. I want to see that he can, be like he was. Don't be too, he's seen some support on the offensive line for Tyrod Taylor. He saw some support for him on the line. So be confident.
Mhm.
Let him, be confident, be stable. You want to break out of the pocket safely, right? You want to throw the ball, wait. You're getting time on the line. Wait, look for the open receiver, go through your reads, be the quarterback who you were. Use the run game, play like you should be.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, in my opinion, and I know you're done defending him, and people are done defending him. In my opinion, I'm done defending him too. But in there, I'm optimistic. He is a good quarterback in there, and we saw it last season. We could see it again. Be stable for the rest of the season. Show us that
Okay.
you're not a bust for this contract.
Okay. Well, mine is something similar along those lines. I want to see him with some time in the pocket, which I know is not an easy ask and something that our offensive line has struggled with. But I want to see him with time in the pocket because I want to see what we have in our wide receivers. I want to see what Wandell could potentially be. I want to see what Jalen Hyatt could potentially be.
I
We have no idea what these guys can be.
I got into an argument yesterday
We
with
have
a couple
no
of my
idea.
with a couple of my friends.
They could be Pro Bowlers. We have no idea.
Wandale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt are great youth for this team. They're great receivers for this team, great youth if they're used correctly. Let's see them. Let's use them. Use the deep
Yeah.
ball. Use these slants. They're quick players. Wandale is shifty. Jalen Hyatt is a speedster. Use them. On any other team, they'll be up for all pro considerations. That's what I truly believe that.
They could be. We don't know.
I truly believe
no
that.
idea.
I believe that both of them could be all pro slot receivers.
I have just not seen enough.
And neither have I, and the Giants are misusing them,
Yeah.
and they should, and they shouldn't. Sorry,
But all right, let's move on. We only got a couple minutes left here. Jets play the Chargers Monday Night Football this week.
what's the tonight game? We'll talk about it 2 seconds.
Okay. Tonight's game is Tennessee Titans 3-4 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 4-3.
I love quick. Let's do it quick, and then we'll get to Monday Night
Go for it.
Football because that's more important. Love what's going on. Will Levis,
The young man out of Kentucky,
yo,
baby.
he looks great out there. I'm not. If
I
you
got
watch
some
that game,
stats for you.
yeah,
if
he
you
looks
want
game.
to, yeah.
Read them off. Read them off.
Okay, so the young man out of Kentucky, Will Levis, will get his second career start tonight in prime time. He looked awesome in his first game, like Nico was just saying. Getting the win, he finished with 238 yards, 19 to 29 in the air, and 4 touchdowns. That's
Two
only
of them
one
to D-Hop, I
touchdown
believe.
less. 3 of them to D-Hop.
3 of them to D-Hop. Sorry.
The 4 touchdowns he had in one singular start is only 1 less than Ryan Tannehill had up until that point in the season.
I mean, I've been saying this for a while. The Titans all they needed was a legitimate quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, Tannehill wasn't a legitimate quarterback for the past 4 years, and they made it to AFC playoff games.
They were number 1 seed a couple times.
They were number 1 seed. I mean, just use that. I mean, just get a quarterback, and they got a quarterback, and this guy's performing, and I love what I'm seeing. I love
D-Hop's gonna play tonight. It's looking like he's gonna play.
I started him, so
no Minkah Fitzpatrick for the Steelers tonight.
that's huge.
No Minkah.
Huge.
TJ Watt's gonna play.
He's hurt, I believe, right?
Minkah's hurt.
Minkah's
hurt. So no Minkah Fitzpatrick tonight. The Steelers are projected to win, but I mean, the matchup that I'm excited for this game. Obviously, I'm excited to see Will Levis prime time.
And
DeAndre
Kenny Pickett's
Hopkins.
back for the Steelers. He's going to play tonight.
Deontay Johnson was back last week, led the team in receptions and receiving yards.
But he was also getting thrown by the backup, who is, I forgot his name, but
I don't know. But what I was going to say was, I mean, this is a matchup between 2 very good and disciplined coaches. Mike Tomlin, who they don't have a very talented roster this year. I look at this roster on paper. I see TJ Watt okay. I see TJ Watt okay. That's
TJ Watt's a dog.
TJ Watt's a superstar.
Yeah, TJ Watt's a dog.
I see TJ Watt and I see Minkah, and I'm like, yeah, those are some dogs.
Yeah, but on the offensive side, it's really not there.
I mean,
you talk about Deontay Johnson, who's a good wide receiver, but Kenny Pickett, I'm not sold on him yet. Najee Harris, I'm definitely not sold on him.
The point I wanted to make though was they still find a way to win games.
Yeah, they do.
They're 4-3 right now. Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the league. Mike Vrabel, very good coach. Like we mentioned just a second ago, number 1 seed a couple times in the AFC. Hasn't made it to that Super Bowl yet, but we'll see. I'm excited for this coaching matchup tonight.
So am I. I think it's going to be a nice game. I do think the Titans pull away, though. I think the Titans win this game.
I have the Titans winning 31-24. I think Will Levis slings it all over the place.
I love it.
Who do you got for first touchdown?
D-Hop.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think Najee's going to get it. I think Najee gets the first touchdown. But
I think Najee is garbage, so I can't even say anything. But let's jump to Monday Night Football. We'll talk about the Jets and the Chargers. This is, I mean, they both got a win in their last games, but they looked, like different teams than they normally did.
Completely different teams.
Completely different teams. But I do want to say something for the Jets fans out there and for everyone in New York. The Jets lose this game, that's big. This is a must win for the Jets at this point in the season.
Must win.
It's a must win.
Really?
If you can't battle, I mean, the Chargers are most likely going to be in contention for that last wild card spot that the Jets are also going to be in contention for. If you can't beat this team, you have no place in the playoffs.
So this game could have implications later down the line for tiebreakers.
Absolutely.
Things
I mean,
like that.
the Chargers are getting rolling. I mean, I believe they're going to start picking it up a little bit because they got Eckler back. He's getting into the groove a little bit more.
Yeah, he looked good.
Let Herbert,
I mean,
cook a little bit.
The Bears.
That
steamrolled the Bears.
Yeah, that I feel like this is a big win for the Jets. The Jets defense is going to perform like they have been.
Okay.
The offense got to do something.
So I have a question for you about this game.
I mean, is Joey Bosa playing? I don't know.
I have a question for you this game. So Jets come off a very ugly win. They scrape by. They somehow beat the Giants. On the other hand, the Chargers handled business from quarter number 1, steamrolled the Bears, okay? Coming into this game, Nico, what version of Zach Wilson are we going to get? And what version of the Chargers defense are we going to get?
I don't believe there's multiple versions of Zach Wilson. I believe there's two. There's 1.5 versions. There's the normal Zach Wilson that we receive on a daily basis, which is absolutely garbage and terrible, and doesn't look at anything and just throws the ball and interceptions and misses everyone. And then I have the 0.5 version where it's, for some reason, like, we see the opposite of this. For some reason, he's just good in the 2-minute drill. And the reason for that is that he doesn't have to think. So he just throws it wherever he wants. And it works. He has a good instinct.
To be fair, before this Giants game, though, he wasn't turning the ball over.
Correct.
And he was not superstar. He was not superstar Zach Wilson, but he was game manager Zach
He's
Wilson.
last. You can't tell me otherwise. They're besides the Giants, they're last in the league in red zone offense, last in the league in third down conversions, last in the league in passing yards. You cannot tell me otherwise. I mean, I think I'm going to say this again, and I'm not saying this to be a hater, but the Chargers win this game. I think the defense, holds off this terrible offense a little bit, and this Chargers offense can be explosive.
But on the other hand,
without Mike Williams, obviously,
very bad, Nico. Their defense has been a problem in the past.
It definitely has. I mean, you talk about the games they've lost. They did lose. They've played good teams. I don't think their record precedes them. I mean, they lost to the Dolphins by 2 points. They lost to the Titans by 3 points. They lost to the Cowboys by 3 points, and they lost to the Chiefs by like 12 points, 13 points. Mm-hmm. That's not terrible. More than that.
You're right. No, it's not that bad.
15 points they lost. It's honestly not that bad.
The Chiefs loss is ugly.
They held this explosive. The explosive Dolphin, they kept them in range, because the Dolphins are a great offensive team.
They let up 36, though.
They let up 36, but they also scored 34. So they kind of held them a little bit. But the defense is a weak point. And I think Joey Bosa was hurt a couple games this season.
Yeah.
But now I think he's healthy. But the biggest point, I think, is the Mike Williams, injury, which is a huge loss for them. But
Quentin Johnson, the rookie first-round pick out of TCU, had his best game as a pro against the Bears. Looking to build more of a chemistry there with Justin Herbert. We'll see how that develops. Austin Eckler coming back, like you said before, is huge. The guy is a PPR machine, catches passes. I mean, he looked really good.
The first 2 games he played were kind of weak. This week, it looked good. Yeah. He looked like he was playing well. He looked like he was,
he had like 10 catches.
Yeah, I mean, he's 4th in receiving yards, and he's only played 4 games. That's awesome. And on that team, I mean, like on that team, like Keenan Allen has 650 yards. Yeah, Joshua Palmer has 380 yards. I mean, this is a good team. Mm-hmm. This is a good team. They have stars. Their defense gotta perform though. I mean, their leading tackle, 52. It's Kenneth Murray Jr. He has 52 total tackles and 2 sacks. I mean, 2 sacks. Khalil Mack does have 7 sacks.
Yeah, he's a linebacker, Kenneth Murray, so he's not a big rush the passer type.
Khalil Mack has 7 sacks. He is leading the team. Joey Bosa has 4 sacks, but he was also hurt for a couple games.
Listen, I said a couple weeks ago I think the Jets were going to win this game. I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to change my answer. You have persuaded me a little bit, convinced me about that Chargers offense. Kellen Moore running things, Justin Herbert settling into that, Austin Eckler healthy. So you have me kind of on the fence here.
But then again, this Jets defense could.
I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to say Zach Wilson does enough to manage the game. They run the ball well, and the Jets get another W. But we'll see what happens. That's going to be a good Monday night game, and I think we got a good Thursday night game tonight. I'm excited, folks. We got some
Yeah,
good
I mean,
football coming up.
and I want to talk like coming up for the Jets. They do have a nice runaway game against the Raiders next week, which will be nice for them. But then they enter a difficult, in my opinion, difficult stretch. They got Bills, Dolphins back to back. Falcons, we'll see how they look in a couple weeks.
we'll see.
Texans, we'll see how they look. Dolphins, Commanders, Browns, Patriots. I mean, there's some difficult games. The Browns game against the Browns, against the Dolphins again, and the Bills. I mean, you're getting to this crunch time part of the season for both these teams where if the Jets want to see, a playoff spot, they really got to start winning games that they should win. And they should win this week, but I don't know if they will.
Oh, man, we'll see. I'm excited. We got a good bunch of football coming up.
And next week, if John can find the Jets jersey, I will wear it on, the Jets, it wasn't the same Jets wins that he thought was going to happen, but I will give him credit. The Jets won 3 straight, so I'll wear them.
All right. He's a man of his word. The Giants got to beat the Raiders, Nico. I'm just thinking about it right now. I'm looking back at the notes here, man. I mean, they fired everybody, man. We got to win this game.
Who knows?
Oh, man. All right.
Who knows?
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for another good week. Really fun show with you guys today. I hope we have better Giants news next week at this time. I think we will. But that's all we got for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Nico, good show, buddy. Let's have a good weekend.
Let's go, Jets.
Love it.